Value doesn't ask for attention, it commands it. You don't see gold advertising itself in the ground. You don't see diamonds begging to be noticed while hidden in the mine. But the moment they're discovered, the world stops. Why? Because value cannot be ignored. It's sought after, chased, and paid for, sometimes at any cost. That's how you must see yourself. You don't need to shout to be seen. You need to build to be undeniable. People aren't rewarded for existing. They're rewarded for solving. The reason some are overlooked isn't because they lack worth. It's because they haven't developed their worth. When you refine what you do, when you take your gifting and sharpen it like a sword, the world begins to notice. You become magnetic. You attract clients, opportunities, favor, not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. The clearer your value, the louder your impact becomes. You can scream all day about how much you deserve a seat at the table, but until you bring something to the table, no one's pulling out a chair. Value doesn't plead, it performs. When you walk into a room and solve problems others can't, when your presence makes people's lives better, when your insight brings clarity, when your ideas create results, you no longer chase significance, you become it. You become the person they need, not just want. In the marketplace, attention is currency, and attention flows in the direction of value. If you want to be seen, you must become someone who matters, someone who changes the outcome. You can't stay in the background expecting spotlight results. You have to develop the kind of excellence that makes people stop what they're doing and say, "Who is that?" Not because you shouted, but because your skill spoke louder than your words. Think about the people the world follows, the voices that shift culture, the names that stay in boardrooms even when they're not in the building. These are individuals who made themselves valuable, not overnight, not by accident, but through consistency, discipline, growth, and intentional investment in themselves. They understood that no one owes you recognition. You must earn it through the relentless pursuit of mastery. When you develop your value, your environment changes. People begin to treat you differently, not because they changed, but because you did. You shifted your worth in the marketplace. You became a solution. People respect what impacts them. And the more you develop, the more impact you have. Impact makes you relevant. Value makes you remembered. And relevance combined with remembrance is the gateway to influence. Most people are waiting for someone to see them, but the ones who rise are too busy becoming. While some are waiting for permission, the valuable are building power. They're not posting for likes, they're building for legacy. That's what makes them rise. Not algorithms, not luck, but value. The kind of value that makes phone calls happen behind closed doors. The kind that keeps your name in rooms you've never even entered. You don't have to market yourself 24/7 when you carry the kind of value that changes lives. People will share your name when they share their testimony. Your work becomes a seed that grows in other people's stories. That's what being valuable does. It puts you in demand without you ever begging to be booked. The thing is, value isn't what you say it is. It's what others experience through you. When you're valuable, you no longer hustle for visibility. You become visible by nature. People make room for what matters. And when you matter, room gets made. Doors swing open. Tables get extended. Conversations shift. Not because you forced your way in, but because your value earned its own invitation. You became essential. Everything around you responds to value. Relationships, finances, opportunities, even favor. It's not about titles, degrees, or resumes. Those are nice, but value goes deeper. It's about the change you bring, the problems you solve, the way you show up, and the spirit you carry. When you focus on becoming valuable, everything you need starts finding you. Too many people are caught up in being seen rather than being effective. They want applause without achievement, attention without alignment. But the ones who rise, truly rise, are those who solve problems. Because while the crowd claps for charisma, the world pays for solutions. You don't get promoted for being impressive, you get promoted for being indispensable. When you focus on solving problems, you become a necessity, not just a name. There's a reason why leaders keep the problem solvers close. In any room, the one who brings peace to chaos, answers to confusion, and strategy to stagnation will always have a seat. People will overlook the loud and choose the useful every time. You don't need to be the most liked, the most followed, or the most praised. You need to be the most valuable. And value is proven in how you respond when pressure shows up and problems demand answers. Problem solvers don't panic, they pivot, they lean in when others check out. They become the steady hand when everything feels unstable. The world has more than enough people pointing out what's wrong, but it will always make space for the few who step in and make it right. That's the power of solving problems. It sets you apart from the crowd. It makes you rare. And in a world drowning in noise, rarity is currency. When you shift your focus from being seen to being effective, everything changes. You stop asking, when will they recognize me? And you start asking, what needs to be fixed? That shift in mindset creates motion. It puts you in conversations you weren't invited to, in rooms your resume didn't qualify for. Because influence isn't given to the loud, it's given to the one who moves things forward. And those who move things forward are always solving problems. People don't remember who had the best smile or the nicest outfit. They remember who helped them break through. They remember who stepped in when the deal was falling apart, when the vision was unclear, when the business was stuck, when the team was losing hope. If you want to become unforgettable, become the person who delivers outcomes. Become the one they call when it matters most. That's how legacy is built. Solving problems requires you to get out of your ego and into your purpose. It's not about making yourself look good. It's about making things work. Pride wants to be praised. Purpose wants to make progress. And the ones who live on assignment are more concerned with creating change than collecting compliments. That's why they keep ascending. They're not wasting time chasing recognition. They're building results. There's something powerful about becoming the answer to the very thing others are afraid to face. When you walk into a situation and shift it, when your ideas bring clarity, when your presence brings peace, when your leadership brings direction, that's what makes people remember you. Not because you made a scene, but because you made a difference. And difference is louder than noise. Too many people are trying to go viral when they should be trying to go valuable. The internet can make you famous, but only your solutions can make you essential. Fame fades, praise fades. But the ability to show up and solve what others avoid, that will keep you in rooms where others only get one shot. That will keep your name relevant long after the hype dies down. Solutions are seeds that bear fruit over and over again. You want to shift your income? Solve bigger problems. You want to increase your influence? Solve more problems. Don't get caught up measuring your progress by likes, views, or praise. Measure it by impact. What changed because you showed up? What moved forward? What pain was eased? What confusion was cleared? That's the real scoreboard. That's the evidence of value. That's what separates those who last from those who flash. When you commit yourself to solving problems, you stop being replaceable. You stop being optional. You become necessary. And when you're necessary, you don't have to beg to be chosen. You don't have to campaign for opportunities. You walk in with confidence, not because of arrogance, but because you know what you bring to the table shifts the outcome. And the outcome is what everyone's looking for. Everybody wants to shine on the stage, but few are willing to grind in the shadows. Obscurity is the season where character is built, skills are sharpened, and identity is refined. It's the hidden place where your foundation is formed. And if you rush out of it too soon, the spotlight will expose what you didn't take time to strengthen. Being faithful in obscurity means you keep showing up even when nobody's clapping. You keep building even when nobody's watching. You keep growing even when nobody's praising, because you understand that preparation is never wasted. Obscurity is not punishment, it's protection. It's where God keeps you while he develops you, where you're being equipped for what you're called to do. If you try to force exposure before you're ready, you'll forfeit elevation. See, what most people call delay is actually development. It's the hidden work that doesn't look glamorous, but is absolutely necessary. because the strength you need for your future assignment is forged in the quiet moments of faithfulness. You don't become excellent in front of crowds. You become excellent in the quiet place when it's just you, your gift, and your grind. No applause, no affirmation, just consistency, just repetition, just obedience. It's easy to be committed when people are cheering, but the real growth happens when there's no audience, no spotlight, and no reward, just discipline. If you can stay consistent in the silence, you'll be trusted in the noise. There are things you'll only learn in the background that you'll need when you get to the front. Wisdom, patience, humility. Those don't come when everything's going well. They come when you're doing the right thing and seeing no immediate result. They come when you're working and wondering if it's even worth it. But every rep counts. Every unseen act of excellence is sowing into your future. And when the moment comes, you won't have to scramble. You'll be ready. Obscurity builds spiritual muscle. That's where your motives are purified. Are you doing this because you love it, because you're called to it, or are you chasing recognition? Faithfulness in obscurity answers that question. It strips away the need to be validated by others and roots your identity in purpose, not popularity. When you know who you are without the platform, you can be trusted with one. You're no longer moved by attention because you've been anchored by assignment. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs in life don't happen in public, they happen in private. When you push past discouragement, when you choose consistency over comfort, when you decide to be excellent even when no one would know if you weren't. Those moments are the foundation stones of destiny. They may look small, but they hold up the weight of everything you're going to carry later. Don't despise those days. They are sacred. The longer you stay faithful in obscurity, the deeper your roots grow. And the deeper your roots, the higher your reach. If a tree grows tall without roots, it'll topple in a storm. But if the roots grow deep before the tree stretches high, it'll stand in any season. Obscurity grows roots. It grounds you. And it ensures that when elevation comes, you don't fall from the pressure of success because you've already been fortified. Being unseen gives you space to experiment, to fail without the fear of judgment, to try things out and discover what works. It's the proving ground for purpose. You don't need to have it all figured out in the beginning. You just need to keep showing up. You need to be faithful with the small thing so you can be trusted with the big thing. If you can manage the room with 10 people, you'll be ready when there's 10,000. Faithfulness is not about how much you do. It's about how consistent you are with what you've been given. Some people wait to go all in until they get a big opportunity, but the big opportunity comes because you went all in when nobody was looking. The job you think doesn't matter, that's the training ground. The project you think is beneath you, that's the testing space. How you handle obscurity determines how long you'll last in visibility. There is favor that finds you when you stay faithful. Doors open that no man can shut. Opportunities appear that you never campaigned for. But those doors don't open to the impatient. They open to the faithful, to the ones who steward what they have now with excellence, even if it seems small, even if no one notices. Because they understand that obscurity is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of preparation for everything that's coming next. In today's world, time is no longer the most valuable commodity. Transformation is. People aren't paying for how long you've been doing something. They're paying for how powerfully you can change their situation. The market doesn't care if it took you 10 years to learn a skill or 10 weeks. What it cares about is whether that skill can produce results. If you can create outcomes that shift people's lives, businesses, or beliefs, you become a person of value, regardless of how long it took you to get there. This is why so many people feel frustrated. They show up every day, they put in the hours, and yet they don't see the reward they expect because effort alone is not enough. You don't get paid for time. You get paid for outcomes. You get rewarded when the thing you do causes someone else's life to get better, faster, clearer, or more aligned. If what you offer doesn't lead to transformation, then it's just information, and information without impact is cheap and easy to replace. You have to start thinking differently. Ask yourself, what changes because of what I do? If the answer isn't clear, your value in the marketplace won't be either. Because the people who rise are those who create change. They walk into a room, a business, a team, a situation, and they make it better. They make it work. They make it grow. And the market recognizes that. It rewards that. It invests in that. Not because you're present, but because your presence causes progress. People will pay more for a 1-hour breakthrough than they will for 10 hours of fluff. They're not paying for duration. They're paying for transformation per minute. You could be the most committed, consistent, and kind person in the building, but if nothing changes when you show up, your influence will stay limited. Because the currency of today's economy is results. And results don't come from time alone. They come from the right action applied with wisdom under pressure. Think about the best in any field. They're not paid based on how long they've been around. They're paid because of what they do in the moment. A surgeon gets paid not to cut, but to heal. A strategist gets paid not to talk, but to solve. A speaker gets paid not to stand on stage, but to shift the audience's thinking. You've got to align your work, your business, your brand, your voice with transformation, not tradition. Stop focusing on doing enough hours and start focusing on delivering impact. This is also why personal development is non-negotiable, because the more you grow, the more you can help others grow. If you're not transforming, you'll struggle to lead transformation in others. The depth of your value is tied directly to the depth of your personal breakthroughs. The better you get at solving your own problems, the more qualified you become to solve them for someone else. That's how transformation multiplies, and that's how income expands. There are people who will try to measure their worth by their resume, their years of experience, their job titles. But titles don't move people. Transformation does. Experience can't justify results that never happen. You might have been doing something for 15 years, but someone who learned to master it in 15 months and can do it more effectively will out-earn and out-impact you, because the market listens to effectiveness, not endurance. So in all of this, the market affects you, you affect the market. This isn't about hustling harder, it's about getting clearer. Clear on who you help, clear on how you help, clear on what changes because of your presence, your product, or your process. When you stop trading time and start delivering transformation, your conversations shift. You no longer negotiate based on hours, you negotiate based on value created, and value created is always more profitable than time spent. You've got to ask yourself, what transformation am I known for? What breakthrough do people associate with my name? What do people walk away with after encountering my gift, my service, or my leadership? If you can't answer that clearly, the market won't be able to either. The truth is, people don't pay you based on what you deserve. They pay you based on what they experience. If their experience is life-changing, money becomes the easy part. When you commit to becoming a person who delivers transformation, everything about how you work shifts. You stop watching the clock and start watching the impact. You stop counting hours and start counting wins. You stop focusing on how long something takes and start asking, how deeply does this change someone's life? That mindset will separate you from 98% of people out there, because while most are punching clocks, you be shifting lives. There comes a point in your journey where the version of you that once fit in no longer serves the level you're called to reach. If you want to truly elevate, you must be willing to develop yourself beyond recognition. Not just improvement, not just minor upgrades, but a full evolution. The person you were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, even 5 weeks ago should be unrecognizable when compared to who you're becoming. Growth at that level doesn't happen by chance, it happens by choice, and it comes at a cost. You cannot cling to comfort and expect to transform. The process of development will strip away everything that's familiar. It will challenge your patterns, confront your excuses, and demand a higher level of discipline, focus, and awareness. You have to become someone who no longer tolerates mediocrity in any area. You start waking up earlier, thinking differently, moving with more intention, and speaking with clarity. Because when you're becoming someone new, your habits have to change before your outcomes ever will. The opinions of others can no longer be your compass. When you commit to developing yourself beyond recognition, you're stepping into a zone that most people never enter, the zone where approval is sacrificed for purpose. People will say, you've changed, and you'll have to smile and say, that was the point. You don't grow for their comfort, you grow for your calling. And the higher your vision, the fewer people will understand your decisions. But that's not a problem, it's proof you're on the right path. Development at this level means your past no longer gets a vote in your future. You stop letting old experiences define new possibilities. You stop using what happened as an excuse to play small. You rewrite the narrative. You realize that the old you did what they could with what they had, but now you've got more wisdom, more clarity, more fire. You're no longer surviving, you're building. You're not reacting, you're creating. And creators don't wait for validation, they move with conviction. Your environment has to change to match your growth. You can't be surrounded by the same conversations, the same energy, the same limitations, and expect to evolve. When you develop yourself beyond recognition, you begin to outgrow circles that once felt like home. And that's okay. Growth is lonely, but it's never empty. The more you transform, the more you attract what aligns with who you're becoming, not who you used to be. This kind of development demands that you stop managing your limitations and start mastering your potential. It requires you to get brutally honest about your weaknesses and radically intentional about your strengths. You stop hiding from what's holding you back and start confronting it head on. Fear, procrastination, self-doubt, none of them can stay when you're serious about rising, because you understand you weren't born to blend in, you were born to break through. You don't get to this level by accident. You study, you apply, you discipline your mind and your emotions. You build your body, your business, your mindset, your spirit. You invest in what matters and you cut out what doesn't. You understand that personal evolution is a full-time responsibility and there's no shortcut to transformation. You don't just want to be great. You're becoming great through the choices you make every single day. The evidence of growth is not in how much you know, but in how differently you live. The way you speak, the way you think, the way you show up under pressure. All of it should be noticeably upgraded. You become more strategic, more self-aware, more aligned. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop chasing opportunities and start creating them through the strength of your presence and the power of your preparation. You develop to a point where you don't even fit in the places you once thought to be accepted. That's transformation. That's the result of stretching beyond the old version of yourself. You begin to live in the gap between your former comfort and your future calling. You stop settling for being impressive and start aiming to be impactful, because now you understand that development isn't just about bettering your life, it's about becoming the kind of person who changes lives. As you rise, the outer world will eventually reflect what you've done in the inner world. People may not recognize the new you, and that's exactly how it should be, because you're not here to be familiar, you're here to be formidable. You're here to grow into someone so powerful, so disciplined, so prepared that the old version of you couldn't even imagine it. Most people chase money because they believe it is the ultimate proof of success, but money in its purest form is not the goal, it's the result. It's the byproduct of the value you create in the world. When you stop obsessing over how to get more money and start focusing on how to become more valuable, everything changes. Because the marketplace is not moved by your needs, it is moved by your value. And when you become someone who solves problems, creates breakthroughs, and shifts people's lives, money has no choice but to follow. Money doesn't just show up because you work hard. It shows up because your work creates impact. You can hustle all day, stay busy from sunrise to sunset, and still feel broke financially, emotionally, mentally, if what you're doing doesn't matter to the people you're trying to serve. Value is what gives your work weight. It's what makes someone say, I need what you have. And when someone needs what you have, they're willing to pay for it. That's not manipulation. That's marketplace alignment. You have to understand that money is a mirror. It reflects how deeply you are serving others. If your income isn't where you want it to be, don't look at your bank, look at your value. Ask yourself, what problems am I solving? What pain am I easing? What process am I simplifying? What outcome am I accelerating? Because wherever there's frustration, there's opportunity. And wherever there's opportunity, There's value waiting to be created. Wealth doesn't come from intention, it comes from execution. You don't get paid because you mean well, you get paid because you deliver well. And the better you get at delivering outcomes that matter, the less you have to worry about your income. The people who earn the most are not always the smartest, but they are the most aligned. They've figured out how to turn their skills, experience, and passion into solutions that others are willing to invest in. There's a reason people pay for speed, for clarity, for peace of mind. Because value is not just about product, it's about experience. It's about how you make people feel, how you help them move forward, how you save them time, energy, money, and stress. You could have the same information as someone else, but if you know how to present it, apply it, and personalize it in a way that transforms someone's life, your value multiplies. The more problems you solve, the more valuable you become. The deeper the problem, the higher the value. That's why surgeons earn more than general practitioners, why strategists earn more than assistants, why leaders earn more than followers. It's not about status, it's about impact. If you want to increase your income, increase your impact. And impact is created by refining your ability to serve others at a higher level. Money is attracted to clarity. If you are vague about what you do, how you help, and who you serve, the market will be vague in how it rewards you. But when your message is clear, your process is proven, and your results are consistent, people will find you. Money will find you, because value doesn't stay hidden for long. It creates noise, momentum, and demand, and where there is demand, money moves. People don't pay you for your time. They pay you for what you bring into that time. Your wisdom, your skill, your energy, your excellence, that's the currency of value. You could take 20 minutes to solve a problem that's been holding someone back for 20 years, and they'll gladly pay you for it. Not because of the time it took, but because of the freedom it gave them. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you rise in any industry. You have to stop asking, how do I make more money, and start asking, how do I create more value? That one shift changes everything. It moves you from desperation to strategy, from scarcity to abundance. It forces you to think deeper, serve better, show up with more excellence, and commit to mastery. Because the more valuable you become, the more inevitable wealth becomes. Money isn't magic, it's measurement. It's the echo of the difference you're making. When you focus on becoming so good, so aligned, so impactful that people feel blessed just to work with you, money will come. It has no choice, because value moves the world. Value builds trust. Value opens doors. Value creates legacy. And those who master the art of value creation never have to beg, chase, or manipulate to receive, because the market always pays those who deliver what truly matters.